Yeah, no, I definitely think I like that, and I agree that Ava's been influential and all that stuff. But I like to, I like to know that that's not the reason why I
Oh
like it.
yeah.
I've
Yeah, no,
always
no. I'm not saying that
no, no,
that's
and
why you
I
like
didn't think
it.
you were
I'm just
implying it.
yeah.
I just
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to address it, but
Yeah, yeah.
because like I think I definitely agree that Evangelion has been like really overrated, and it feels overrated to some people. And
Oh, I wouldn't agree with that either, but but I understand your take there.
I
Yeah.
get how it can feel overrated to many people that hear about it and people that swear by it. But I still feel like everyone should watch Evangelion at least
Oh yeah.
once. Because I
100%.
just feel like it's one of those shows, and you can come away with it like hating it, loving it. That's fine. I just think you should watch it, and
100%. There
that's
are some
kind of
shows that are like independent of how you feel about it. I do think you should watch it. And I think there are just like some anime out there that exists that are like, yeah, you just, if you want to be invested in the medium, you want a good sense of the medium, these are the shows you got to watch. Love them or hate them, up to you. But like, these are the must watch series.
yeah. Yeah, and definitely with your name as well. Like I think I mentioned this to Shah beforehand. Like the reason I came up with my list is just I felt like very like, and I guess we can get into the scoring thing too, because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Shah has a more strict view of tens, that
Yeah.
if it's not a 10, it should not be on here. And I was like, well, what if like I have some that are nines here, and there are some things that I appreciate, and I think storytelling wise, they're a 10. But then the argument can be like, well, how can you call it a 10 if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't resonate with you to that level that it would be that, a 10 should be representative also of your like 2 cents
Mm-hmm.
and how you feel about it, not just, oh, it's like really well told, but if it didn't connect with you, then how's it a 10?
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I find kind of confusing because I'm never going to tell someone how their favorite should be. I think that's kind of like a dick move to be like, here's how I do my favorites. You should do the same. I just think that's illogical and makes no sense. But it is interesting to me from my perspective as someone who's like, okay, it can't be a favorite if I'm not going to give it a 10. I think they're kind of one and the same. So it is interesting to me to see people like yourself when you have something you're like, okay, it's a 9, but it's also a favorite over 10s. That's what I find really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I still have to figure it out. So I decided to just not worry about scores. That's something
Yeah.
I think this is an ongoing thing. The favorites
Mm-hmm.
might change, the scoring might get more defined, because I think also I've internalized a lot of this is what great storytelling looks like, and
Yeah.
then as opposed to what great storytelling looks like for me,
Yeah.
and like there's, I think in my mind there's like two categories of what I think is again, like I said before, great for the medium, and really like something everyone would love, like must watches for anime, and as opposed to just personal favorites, and kind of how you define those. Some people combine those, and some people just kind of keep them separate. I might end up going towards the latter, who knows. But the reason I came up with this list, I was just like, the way I did it was just like, I'm not going to worry about scores for now. I don't have this together, so I'm just going to double down on what I feel. And I feel like Your Name's number 2. I feel like Mob Psycho's 3. I
I
feel
love
like
that.
Monogatari's 4. Haikyuu's 5, and then so on and so forth. And
Yeah,
Ava's
I love
always
that.
1.
Yeah,
So
I love that. So did you want to go in because it is kind of like contingent on your Mal arc? Did you want to go into like how did you decide that like Your Name was going to be 2? Because if it sounds like Ava has been with you for a while, and you could go into that more too, but it sounds like it was like first spot was always a given. How did you come to the other ones?
so I mean, I could go into that, but again, there's no, it's something I need to probably develop. There's no logical
Okay,
process here. It was
okay.
kind of just a feeling.
This is another question. This is what I do. I think it's the equivalent of your fiance's like, if you're a mob boss, what do they got to do before entering the gate, which is the best, the best way I've heard of determining your favorites of all time. So shout out to your fiance for being perfect as always. But but here's what I do. When I think of a show, this might be backwards and sound really weird, but to me, when I'm going into a series, I'll say, okay, the limit is a 9. If it does nothing wrong in my head, it's a 9. You have to prove that you're a 10 by having at least one or multiple moments that have impacted me in a way that make me reconsider the medium, storytelling, or just emotional impacts that have like redefined my life and something that I value in a life. So it really is kind of like that bullshit thing you hear in college where it's like, you know, you can only get like an A minus, you have to earn an A, like that bullshit that teachers tell you to keep grades down, but it's kind of used for just, you know, personal categorization. So when it comes to like each of my favorites, there's like one moment that they have that come to mind where I'm like, okay, this is when I made that connection, or this is when it became next level, or this is when it became a 10. And I have like in my head, like a mental list of every time it became that. So I'm not sure if that is something you have. Like, is there a moment when your name, Mob or Monogatari, became a favorite for you? Or was it more of like a holistic feeling?
Holistic for some. Your name was kind of holistic. It all kind of came together because I base it on my, and again, it's probably, you know, not the best move, but I base it on my initial viewing of it. I watched it at my local theater and I was just blown away. Like I didn't have, I've heard the problems people have had with it, but none of those, I didn't have any of those problems with it. I thought the whole experience was just kind of like with the animation, with the scenery, with the story. It was what I like. It's what I look for. And it was just kind of magical. And I was like, hey, this is really good. And that was kind of it. I had no problems with it. And I just was like, feeling wise, if I don't break this down to a molecular level, I'm cool with it. I loved it. It was a good experience. And Mob, I actually loved Mob from season 1. I really liked the balance of humor, action, the experimental kind of different dynamic animation. I love the kind of introspective nature of it. But like, I think where Mob definitively had to be a favorite was in season 2, especially. Like, I did love the ending, but especially like towards the Reagan arc, like 6 or 7, episode 7, season 2. That like
amazing.
It was a combination of that, but also the scene in the first episode, where, like, minor spoiler, in season 2, the first episode where Mob picks up the paper that papers that were torn up for this girl, this school classmate, and he kind of like brings them back, and it was like, I don't know, like the whole theme of the show really was encapsulated there. So
I love that.
Monogatari, definitely Monogatari, second series.
Yeah,
that's where specifically Tsubasa Tiger.
That was the one for you. Okay, because there's like 3 arcs in second season where I could see it being like, yeah, this is the moment.
Oh, well, Hitagi End is my favorite arc.
Okay, me too.
Tsubasa Tiger is like, and I don't want to get into it for people that haven't watched it or whatever, but like, Hanekawa was not like one of my favorites. She was there, but because I still hadn't figured her out.
Yeah.
And that arc, just the way it was done and everything just resonated so deeply, and it was just so good that I was like, this is awesome. This is it. Yeah. And I guess the rest of second season just being so good kind of solidified, like, this is what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
Haikyuu, I really don't think I need to explain Haikyuu too much. If you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Don't wait for me to pitch it to you. Go watch it. Haikyuu was good from season 1. Season 2, phenomenal. It's a really hard toss-up for me between season 2 and season 3. But Haikyuu is just goated.
It's peak fiction.
Yeah. But I think the moment where I guess it is, I think it's either season 3 and this scene, or just the stuff in season 3, maybe like when I forget his name, glasses guy. Yeah, Tsukiyama finally gets into it. I'm like, oh my god, this series is so good. Yeah. Or just any moment that Oikawa served. That was
gosh. When I think my moment, like, I was on board for like all of it, but I think what really makes it is do you remember the Worthless Pride scene, like after he loses, and then Yusujima like talks to him about like after the match, and he's like, you know, you should have come to Shiratorizawa, and he's like, if you weren't so prideful and like trying to do it your own way, and he's like, you better watch out for my worthless pride, and he has this like intense face, and I was like, that's my MC. He's not the MC, but he's my MC.
Ushijima?
No, Oikawa.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, when he's like glaring at him, like, I will. Like,
you've pinpointed that exact moment.
It has been kind of meme. It's not like memes, but you should have come to Shiratorizawa. It's like a huge meme, but like that one scene of just like so like perfectly encapsulates his character and why he's like so easy to root for. And
Yeah.
that's when I was like, my GOAT, there it is. It's my quarterback.
No, he's awesome. For someone that's like an antagonist,
Yeah.
you know, that can be a bit of a douche at times.
Yeah.
It's like hard to not root for him or think how cool he is, especially when you find out his backstory.
Yeah.
Kaguya, I think, I don't know, there wasn't a moment. It was just all good.
Yeah,
Like,
it's-
both seasons, especially season 2. Actually, if I have to say, the Ishigami arc was just really good.
It's so good. I love that arc.
But I think Kaguya is like a perfect example of an adaptation. Just, I haven't read the manga. I know you have, but just I feel like it probably elevates the source material so much.
Funny enough, season 1, I could have gone either way on it. Season 2, as you like pointed out, season 2 is when I felt like they really kicked up like the adaptation quality into overdrive. Because season 1 was just like a good adaptation that, you know, it didn't mess up, so to speak. But there were still a few parts where I was like, I like what the manga did with like the fireworks chapter a bit more. But season 2 of Kaguya, like they really kicked it into overdrive. I saw the way they handled some of the skits. So funny. Like you remember when it was like, I forget the exact skit, but it's almost like they had like the in theme with our podcast layout, the like Mortal Kombat, like both of them fighting with their like, you know, their blushing bar going down as if it was like their health bar. That one like really stood out as like, yeah, they elevated this. This is really funny.
I mean, I also have recency bias because I remember season 2 more than season 1, but I think just the adaptation from what I've seen, it's just all of it's just been so good. So
top tier voice acting, directing across the board, very good.
Top tier openings.
Top tier openings, love those.
Yeah. So and then actually, so do you want me to keep talking? Because we haven't even talked about your favorites. You know?
Oh, sure. It depends. If you have questions about any of mine.
I mean, so like, I guess your question was moments that solidified. I think World Trigger. There was actually a specific moment that I just keep referencing, and it's also recent. I just binged all of it in January. Was episode 48, and there was just a moment between the two leads where. The main character has just kind of been like, he's undeniably, and I mentioned this in my video, undeniably weak. Like it's a shonen and it's a shonen MC, but he's like weak beyond belief. And everyone in the show reminds him of that. And it's just a kind of a reality he can't escape. And it's not really a depressing thing, but it's like his progression is so slow. Like it's now in season 2 and now we're getting the payoffs.
Oh,
but at least to me, maybe to some people it has been frustrating, but I think that's just it does it in a really grounded way. Okay. And then has been progressing, but I think in that episode he gets a little too ahead of himself and he thinks like, oh, you know, now I'm a lot better. I can do this stuff. And then when he finds out he can't even like save this little kid, he has to get saved by like his friend that has been saving him all along. Yeah. He's just frustrated. You know, he's just like, why? You know, why, like, I don't even know what I should be doing. Like, why can't I keep up? And his friend just pretty much reassures him and just looks at him and tells him, like, honestly, genuinely just tells him, like, I follow you because you are you. And
that's
like,
wholesome. I like that.
That's all you have to do is be you and you can take as long as you need. And that's kind of it. And I was like, man, that just hit, like, it was so simple, but it was like, like, I just really resonated with everything kind of in the show, and that's what makes the payoff in the show so good. And I think I'm gonna just, I don't know if there's a moment in JoJo's. I think the last arc of that part 4 is just in itself just amazing, and that kind of nailed it. But it brought everything and the whole theme of the show together for me, which I think was all about community and the town of Morio. And on top of the phenomenal art direction. And then Shirobako, again, insider, you know, kind of into the anime industry, which was very engaging, but also that like scene, the Andes Chucky scene, and then kind of everything after that brought it all together. Like why, even though it's super like brutal work, like why they want to make an anime and why are they, you know, keep doing this. Yeah. So, and it got into like their passions and like dreams and all that stuff. So that why it hit. And I think at this point, I can just kind of sum up what my anime taste, if you haven't gotten it, in a few words for all of these. I think I could spin this, which is I think like I generally like things either with a lot of heart or just like something that kind of shows human struggle or like the human will, like in some capacity. And I think in some form, it's kind of in all of these, you know, anything that kind of is either introspective or makes me think about life or just kind of like illustrates like the human, you know, just being human.
The human condition.
Yeah, the human condition.